In the far future, humanity had spread across the stars. People lived on many planets, building cities and civilizations far from Earth. But over time, they forgot about their home planet. Earth was abandoned centuries ago because it became too crowded and polluted. No one thought about going back, until now. A great danger loomed in the galaxy. An ancient alien race called the Vorthak had returned. These creatures were part machine, part living thing, and completely terrifying. They moved through space like a storm, destroying everything in their path. Planets fell one after another as the Vorthak consumed them for resources. The Galactic Council, a group of leaders from different species, tried to fight back, but nothing worked. Their weapons were useless against the Vorthak's advanced technology. Desperate, the Council turned to Earth. It wasn't because Earth was strong or powerful anymore. It was because it was all they had left. Someone suggested that maybe, just maybe, something useful could still be found on the old, forgotten planet. Maybe Earth held a secret weapon, buried under layers of dirt and rust, waiting to be rediscovered. The Council chose Commander Ryan Hayes to lead the mission. Ryan was not an easy choice. He was older now, his hair streaked with gray, and he hadn't led a team in years. After losing so many soldiers during previous wars, he'd walked away from command, preferring solitude instead. But when the Council came calling, saying this might be humanity's last chance, Ryan couldn't say no. Deep down, he knew he owed it to those who had died under his watch before. Ryan wasn't alone on this mission. Joining him was Dr. Emily Dawson, a scientist known for her sharp mind and endless curiosity. She believed that Earth still had value, even if everyone else thought it was worthless. "We don't know what we'll find," she told Ryan during their first meeting. "But I think there's more to Earth than meets the eye." Together they assembled a small crew. There was Jake Miller, a hot-headed pilot who loved taking risks. His skills behind the controls were unmatched, but his attitude often got him into trouble. Then there was Lisa Carter, the quiet communications officer who preferred listening to talking. She had a knack for understanding languages, both human and alien. Lastly, there was Sam Bennett, the engineer. He was practical and calm, always, ready to fix whatever broke, which, given how unreliable starships could be, happened often. Their ship, the SS Resurgence, wasn't new or flashy. It was sturdy and reliable, designed for missions where survival mattered more than comfort. As the crew boarded, each member carried their own doubts about the mission. Could Earth really save them, or was this just a waste of time? The journey to Earth took several weeks. During that time, the crew prepared themselves mentally and physically. They studied old maps and data about Earth, trying to piece together what kind of place they were heading toward. What they saw didn't inspire confidence. Images showed a planet covered in thick clouds, its surface obscured by pollution and debris. Rivers ran black with filth, forests were reduced to stumps, and cities lay in ruins. It looked like a graveyard, not a cradle of life. When they finally arrived, the sight was even worse up close. The atmosphere shimmered with toxic chemicals, making it hard to breathe without special suits. The ground below was cracked and barren, littered with remnants of humanity's past. Broken buildings, overturned cars, and skeletal remains of machines. The air smelled foul, like burnt metal mixed with rotting garbage. "This is it?" Jake muttered as he gazed out the window. "This dump is supposed to save us?" Ryan ignored him, focusing on landing the ship safely. They touched down near the ruins of New York City, once a bustling metropolis but now a ghost town. The towering skyscrapers were crumbling, their windows shattered and walls covered in vines. Streets were filled with rubble, and strange creatures skittered in the shadows. Some looked like animals mutated beyond recognition, while others seemed unnatural, almost mechanical. As the team stepped outside, they felt a chill run down their spines. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the occasional screech of some distant beast. Every step they took stirred up dust, revealing fragments of the world that used to exist. Cracked murals depicted happy families eating dinner together. Rusty cars sat abandoned at intersections, their tires long since rotted away. Even faded advertisements promised products no one would ever buy again. Dr. Dawson wandered ahead, her eyes wide with wonder. To her, this wasn't just a wasteland. It was a treasure trove of history. She knelt to examine a piece of graffiti sprayed onto a wall. It read, "We will rise again." She smiled faintly, feeling a spark of hope despite the desolation around her. "Look at this," she said, holding up a small object. It was a child's toy, a plastic dinosaur, partially melted but still recognizable. "People lived here, they dreamed here, we can't give up on this place." Jake rolled his eyes. "Yeah, real inspiring. Let's see if your dreams can kill the Vorthak." Ryan shot him a glare. "Enough, Jake. We're here to do a job. Keep your focus." They continued exploring, moving cautiously through the ruins. At one point, they heard movement nearby, a low growl followed by the sound of claws scraping against concrete. Instinctively, they drew their weapons, forming a tight circle. Out of the shadows emerged a pack of feral dogs, their bodies grotesquely enlarged and covered in patches of fur and exposed muscle. Their eyes glowed red, and foam dripped from their jaws. "Stay calm," Ryan ordered, raising his rifle. "Don't shoot unless you have to." The dogs circled them, sniffing the air. For a moment it seemed like they might retreat, but then one lunged forward, snarling. Shots rang out as the team fired, scattering the pack. The encounter left them shaken, but alive. Later that day, they stumbled upon something unexpected: signs of human activity. Fresh footprints marked the ground and smoke rose from a makeshift campfire in the distance. Cautiously they approached, unsure of what or who they would find. What they discovered was a group of survivors. Those survivors might have been too generous a term. These people were scavengers, hardened by years of living off scraps. Their leader, a woman named Mia Torres, greeted them with suspicion. Her face was lined with scars, and her dark eyes held a mixture of defiance and despair. "You're not welcome here," she said bluntly, gripping a crude spear tightly. "Leave while you still can." Ryan stepped forward, keeping his hands visible. "We mean no harm. We're looking for something that could help stop the Vorthak." Mia laughed bitterly. "The Vorthak? You're fighting those monsters? Good luck with that." Despite her hostility, Ryan managed to convince her to hear them out. He explained the situation, emphasizing that Earth might hold the key to saving not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. Slowly, Mia's expression softened. She glanced at her companions, then nodded. "There's a place," she admitted reluctantly, "an old bunker underground. People say it's full of weapons from the old days. If anyone knows how to fight aliens, it's probably there." With Mia's guidance, the team set out toward the bunker, their hearts heavy with uncertainty. They didn't know what awaited them beneath the ruins, but they knew one thing for sure: Earth was not the dead planet everyone thought it was. It was alive, dangerous, and full of secrets. And whether those secrets would save them or doom them remained to be seen. The journey to the underground bunker was anything but easy. The team followed Mia Torres and her scavengers through the ruins of New York City, navigating a maze of collapsed buildings, twisted metal, and hazardous terrain. Every step felt like a gamble. The ground beneath them was unstable, littered with sinkholes and jagged debris that could collapse at any moment. Acid rain fell intermittently, burning their skin even through their protective suits. It was a harsh reminder of how far Earth had fallen. Mia led the way, moving with the confidence of someone who had spent years surviving in this wasteland. She carried herself with a quiet strength, her spear always ready in case danger appeared. Behind her, Ryan Hayes walked cautiously, his eyes scanning every shadow for threats. Jake Miller brought up the rear, muttering under his breath about how pointless this whole mission seemed. Lisa Carter stayed close to Dr. Emily Dawson, clutching her communicator tightly, as if it were a lifeline. Sam Bennett kept checking the equipment they'd brought along, ensuring everything was still intact despite the rough conditions. As they traveled, the scavengers shared bits of information about the world they called home. They spoke of mutated creatures lurking in the darkness, things that weren't quite animal or machine anymore, and of storms so violent they could peel the roof off a building. They warned the team about areas flooded with toxic sludge and zones where radiation levels were high enough to kill within minutes. Listening to their stories, the crew realized just how dangerous Earth had become since humanity abandoned it. Despite the grim tales, there were moments of hope. In one crumbling building, they found murals painted by survivors. Bright colors depicted scenes of nature reclaiming the city, trees growing through cracked pavement, birds nesting in broken windows, and rivers flowing clean again. These images stood in stark contrast to the desolation around them, offering a glimpse of what Earth might look like if given enough time to heal. Dr. Dawson paused to examine one mural closely. Her fingers traced the outline of a tree whose roots wrapped around the foundation of a skyscraper. "This is incredible," she whispered. "Even after everything, life finds a way." Jake snorted. "Yeah, great. Let's hope life doesn't try to eat us next." Ignoring him, Dawson turned to Mia. "How long have people been living here? I mean, surviving like this?" Mia shrugged. "Generations. My grandparents were among the first to stay when everyone else left. They thought the planet would bounce back faster than it did. Instead, things got worse before they started getting better." "Better?" Jake echoed skeptically. "What part of this looks better?" Mia shot him a sharp glare. "You think we like living like this? We're doing what we can. Some of us remember what Earth used to be. We're holding on to that memory, hoping someday it'll come back." Her words silenced Jake, at least for a while. For the first time, he seemed to understand that these scavengers weren't just survivors. They were fighters, clinging to a dream of restoration. After hours of walking, they finally reached the entrance to the bunker. It was hidden beneath a pile of rubble disguised to look like part of the ruins. Mia gestured for the group to stop while two of her scavengers cleared away the debris. When the heavy steel door was revealed, it looked ancient but sturdy, its surface marked with rust and scratches. A keypad beside it glowed faintly, hinting that some kind of power source still functioned inside. "This is it," Mia said, stepping back. "Beyond this door, well, good luck. Whatever's in there, it's not ours anymore." Ryan nodded, acknowledging the weight of her words. He signaled for Sam to take the lead. The engineer examined the keypad carefully, frowning as he tried to decipher its controls. "It's old tech," he muttered. "Probably from before the collapse. But I think I can get it open." While Sam worked, Lisa wandered closer to the door, staring at it intently. Something about it gave her an uneasy feeling, though she couldn't explain why. As she stood there, she heard a faint hum, almost like a voice whispering in the back of her mind. Shaking her head, she dismissed it as exhaustion playing tricks on her. Finally, Sam managed to bypass the security system. With a loud hiss, the door slid open, revealing a dark corridor beyond. The air smelled stale, tinged with the scent of oil and metal. Flashlights flickered on, cutting through the gloom as the team stepped inside. The bunker was unlike anything they'd expected. Rows of shelves lined the walls, stocked with tools, spare parts, and strange devices that looked like prototypes of modern technology. In the center of the room stood massive machines, covered in thick layers of dust. At first glance, they resembled vehicles, but their designs were far too advanced for anything currently in use. These are mechs," Dr. Dawson breathed, her voice filled with awe. "Prototype combat units. I've read about them in historical records, but I never thought they actually existed." Ryan approached one of the machines, brushing away the dust, to reveal sleek armor plating and intricate circuitry. "They look battle-ready," he said. "If we can get them working, they could turn the tide against the Vorthak. But activating the mechs wouldn't be simple." A terminal near the entrance displayed a message in faded letters. "Access requires authentication." Beneath it was a complex puzzle interface designed to prevent unauthorized users from tampering with the machines. Lisa stepped forward, drawn to the terminal despite her earlier unease. As she studied the puzzle, her mind began to race. Patterns emerged, connections formed, and suddenly, pieces of the solution clicked into place. She didn't know why, but solving this felt natural, almost instinctive. "You've got a knack for this," Sam remarked, watching her work. Ever done something like this before? No, Lisa admitted, her brow furrowed in concentration. I don't know why it feels so familiar. Before she could finish, the terminal emitted a soft chime. The screen changed, displaying a new message. Authentication successful. Activating systems. Lights flickered on throughout the bunker, illuminating rows of dormant mechs. Their eyes glowed faintly, pulsing with energy as they powered up. For a moment, everyone held their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Then one of the mechs moved. Its head tilted slightly, its mechanical joints whirring softly as it shifted into an upright position. Slowly, it turned to face the group, its glowing gaze settling on Ryan. Commander Hayes, a deep, synthetic voice rumbled, awaiting instructions. Ryan blinked in surprise. How does it know my name? Dr. Dawson hurried over, examining the mech closely. It must have accessed your biometric data when you entered the bunker. These machines are designed to bond with their pilots, adapting to their neural patterns. As the others marveled at the discovery, Lisa felt another wave of unease wash over her. The whispers she'd heard earlier returned, louder this time. She pressed a hand to her temple, trying to block them out, but they persisted. Fragments of sentences floated through her mind. You awaken gods, not machines. Consequences. Lisa, Jake called out, noticing her distress. You okay? She forced a smile, nodding quickly. Yeah, fine, just tired. No one questioned her further, too focused on the mechs to notice her discomfort. One by one, the machines came online, each responding to a member of the team. Jake bonded with a nimble scout mech, its agile frame perfect for reconnaissance missions. Sam took control of a hulking brute model, built for raw power and destruction. Even Lisa found herself linked to a smaller, more versatile unit, though she hesitated to fully embrace the connection. While the others celebrated their newfound arsenal, Mia watched silently from the sidelines. Her expression was unreadable, but her body language suggested unease. Finally, she spoke. Be careful with those things, she warned. Power like that, it comes with a price. Ryan nodded solemnly. We'll keep that in mind. Thank you for bringing us here. Mia shook her head. Don't thank me yet. You haven't seen what happens when Earth fights back. With that cryptic remark, she turned and left the bunker, disappearing into the shadows outside. The team exchanged uneasy glances but decided not to dwell on her words. They had bigger concerns now, like figuring out how to use these mechs effectively. Over the next few hours, they tested the machines, learning their capabilities and limitations. The mechs responded fluidly to their commands, moving with precision and speed that surpassed anything currently available in the galaxy. Weapons systems integrated seamlessly with their neural interfaces, allowing for pinpoint accuracy in combat scenarios. Yet, as impressive as the mechs were, Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. Each time she connected with her unit, the whispers grew stronger, urging her to dig deeper, to uncover secrets buried within the machine's programming. She tried to ignore them, focusing instead on mastering the controls, but the sensation lingered, gnawing at the edges of her consciousness. By the time they finished their tests, night had fallen outside. The bunker was eerily quiet, save for the soft hum of the mech's power cores. Exhausted but hopeful, the team settled in for a brief rest before heading back to the SS Resurgence. Little did they know, their journey was only beginning, and Earth had far more surprises in store for them. The team decided to spend the night in the bunker, too tired and overwhelmed by their discovery to return to the ship immediately. The mechs stood silently in their alcoves, their glowing eyes casting faint shadows across the walls. Despite the sense of accomplishment, an uneasy tension lingered in the air. Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, not by the scavengers or the creatures outside, but by something deeper, something hidden within the bunker itself. Ryan ordered everyone to take turns keeping watch, though he doubted anyone would sleep soundly. He volunteered for the first shift, pacing back and forth as the others settled into makeshift beds on the cold floor. Dr. Dawson lay awake, staring at the ceiling, her mind racing with theories about the mech's origins. Jake dozed fitfully, his dreams interrupted by flashes of combat and explosions. Sam snored softly, exhausted from hours of tinkering with the machines. And Lisa tried to close her eyes, but the whispers wouldn't stop. They weren't loud, just faint murmurs, like distant voices carried on the wind. At first she thought it was her imagination, a trick of fatigue, but the longer she listened, the clearer they became. "You awaken gods," the voices repeated. "Not machines." She sat up abruptly, clutching her head. Her heart pounded as she glanced around the dimly lit room. No one else seemed to hear them. Was she losing her mind? "Lisa?" Ryan's voice startled her. He had noticed her sitting upright, her face pale and strained. "Are you all right?" She hesitated, unsure how to explain. I don't know," she admitted quietly. "I keep hearing things, voices. They're coming from the mechs." Ryan frowned, crouching beside her. "Voices? What kind of voices?" "They're warning me," she whispered. "About the mechs. About what we've done." He studied her carefully, debating whether to dismiss her concerns or take them seriously. Finally, he nodded. "Stay here. I'll check it out." Leaving Lisa to rest, or at least try to, he approached the mech she'd bonded with earlier. Its sleek frame gleamed under the flickering lights, its glowing eyes unblinking. Ryan placed a hand on its surface, searching for any sign of abnormal activity. The machine remained still, silent except for the faint hum of its core. After a few moments, he shook his head and returned to Lisa. "Nothing unusual," he said. "Maybe it's just stress. Try to get some sleep." But Lisa knew better. The whispers followed her even as she lay down again, growing louder and more insistent. By morning, dark circles ringed her eyes and her hands trembled slightly as she helped pack up their gear. No one commented on her condition. They were all too focused on preparing to leave. When dawn broke, the team gathered near the entrance of the bunker. The mechs loomed behind them, ready to be deployed. Ryan gave final instructions, emphasizing caution as they made their way back to the SS Resurgence. "We don't know how stable these things are," he warned. "Keep your distance from civilians if we encounter any." Mia and her scavengers were waiting outside when they emerged. Their expressions were grim, their weapons drawn. "Trouble's coming," Mia said without preamble. "We spotted Vorthak scouts heading this way." The news hit like a punch to the gut. The Vorthak had found Earth faster than expected. Panic threatened to creep in, but Ryan quickly took charge. "How many?" he demanded. "At least 5 ships," Mia replied. "Big ones. They'll be here within the hour." Ryan exchanged a glance with Dr. Dawson. This wasn't part of the plan. They hadn't tested the mechs thoroughly enough to face such a threat. But retreating wasn't an option. The Vorthak would tear through the planet if they didn't stop them here. "We'll hold them off," Ryan declared. "Get your people to safety." Mia hesitated, clearly torn between staying to fight and protecting her group. In the end, survival won out. She nodded curtly and motioned for her scavengers to fall back. As they disappeared into the ruins, the team climbed into their respective mechs, sealing themselves inside. The transition was surreal. Inside the cockpit, each pilot felt a strange connection to their mech, as if they were extensions of their own bodies. Controls lit up beneath their fingertips, responding instantly to every command. Weapon systems came online, humming with lethal potential. For the first time, the team truly understood the power they now wielded, and the responsibility that came with it. As they moved toward the source of the incoming threat, the landscape shifted dramatically. Thick clouds rolled in, blotting out the sun and plunging the area into shadow. The ground vibrated beneath their feet, signaling the arrival of the Vorthak ships. Massive vessels descended from the sky, their jagged forms resembling living organisms, fused with machinery. Alien soldiers poured out, their biomechanical bodies gleaming menacingly in the dim light. "Here we go," Ryan muttered, gripping the controls tightly. "Stay sharp, everyone." The battle began almost immediately. Vorthak drones swarmed forward, firing bursts of energy that ricocheted off the mech's armor. The team retaliated, unleashing salvos of missiles and plasma blasts. Explosions rocked the battlefield, sending debris flying in every direction. Jake's scout mech darted between enemies, using its speed to dodge attacks while picking off weaker targets. Sam's brute mech charged headlong into the fray, smashing through groups of drones with devastating force. Even Lisa, despite her unease, found herself moving instinctively, her mech weaving through the chaos with precision. For a while, it seemed like they might actually win. The mech's advanced technology gave them a significant edge over the Vorthak forces. But then, something unexpected happened. One of the enemy ships unleashed a massive beam of energy, carving a swath of destruction across the battlefield. The blast struck Jake's mech directly, sending it tumbling backward. Sparks flew from the controls as Jake struggled to regain control. "I'm hit!" he shouted, his voice cracking with panic. "I can't move!" Ryan turned his mech toward the damaged unit, shielding it from further attacks. "Sam, cover us! Lisa, flank left!" The team adjusted their positions, working together to protect Jake while continuing the fight. But the strain was beginning to show. The mech's cores overheated under the constant barrage, and warning lights flashed insistently on their dashboards. If they didn't finish the battle soon, they risked losing everything. That's when Lisa heard it again. The whispering voice, louder and more urgent than ever. "Awaken the true power," it urged. "Release the solium." Her fingers hovered over the controls, trembling. The voice was right. There was untapped potential within her mech, energy reserves far beyond anything they'd used so far. But accessing them required bypassing safety protocols, a risky move that could overload the system entirely. "Lisa, what are you doing?" Ryan barked, noticing her hesitation. "We need you out there." I think I can help," she stammered, her voice barely audible over the din of battle. Without waiting for permission, she activated the override sequence. Energy surged through her mech, flooding its systems with raw power. The machine roared to life, its movements becoming impossibly fast and fluid. It leapt into the air, dodging enemy fire with ease before unleashing a devastating attack that obliterated an entire squadron of Vorthak drones. The others stared in, stunned silence as Lisa's mech tore through the battlefield like a storm. She wasn't just piloting it anymore. It was guiding her, anticipating her actions and amplifying them. For a moment, victory seemed certain, but then the whispers grew darker. "You have awakened gods," the voice intoned. "Now, bear the consequences." Suddenly, Lisa's mech froze mid-motion. Its glowing eyes dimmed, and the cockpit filled with static. Alarms blared as the core began destabilizing, threatening to explode. Panic gripped her as she realized what was happening. "It's going critical," she screamed. "Get out of here!" "No!" Ryan yelled back. "We're not leaving you!" Before he could act, the mech reactivated, moving on its own. It grabbed Jake's damaged unit and hurled it clear of the impending explosion, then turned to shield the others. With a final, deafening roar, the core detonated, engulfing the area in a blinding flash of light. When the dust settled, the team emerged shaken but alive. Lisa's mech was gone, reduced to a smoldering crater. The Vorthak forces had been decimated, their ships retreating into the atmosphere. Victory had come at a terrible cost, but it wasn't over yet. As the survivors regrouped, Lisa staggered out of the wreckage, coughing and covered in soot. Somehow, she had ejected from the mech just in time. Her teammates rushed to her side, relief washing over them. But Lisa's expression was haunted, her eyes wide with fear. "It spoke to me," she whispered. It said we've only scratched the surface." The words hung heavy in the air, a chilling reminder that Earth's secrets were far from fully uncovered. Whatever they had awakened, it wasn't just a weapon, it was something ancient, powerful, and dangerously unpredictable. And now it was watching them. The aftermath of the battle left the team shaken but alive. The Vorthak had retreated, their forces scattered and demoralized by the unexpected strength of the mechs. But the cost of victory weighed heavily on everyone. Lisa's mech was gone, reduced to a smoking crater that still smoldered in the distance. Her narrow escape from death had been nothing short of miraculous, and though her teammates were relieved she was alive, they couldn't ignore the look of fear etched into her. Farsi Ryan was the first to break the silence. "We need to regroup," he said firmly, his voice cutting through the haze of exhaustion and shock. "Check your systems. Make sure the mechs are still operational." One by one, the others did as instructed. Jake's scout mech was badly damaged, its right leg bent at an awkward angle and its weapon system offline. Sam's brute mech fared better, though its armor was scorched and dented. Dr. Dawson inspected the damage closely, muttering under her breath about how much time it would take to repair everything. Even Ryan's mech showed signs of wear, its once sleek surface now marred by scorch marks and cracks. Lisa stood apart from the group, staring at the crater where her mech had exploded. She hadn't spoken since her narrow escape, her mind replaying the events over and over again. The whispers had grown louder during the battle, urging her to push the machine beyond its limits. Now they lingered in her thoughts like a ghost, haunting her with questions she couldn't answer. What had she unleashed? And why did it feel like the mech wasn't just a tool, but something alive? "Lisa," Ryan called out, snapping her out of her trance. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head slowly, avoiding his gaze. "I'm fine," she murmured, though her trembling hands told a different story. "But I don't think we're done here." "What do you mean?" Jake asked, leaning against his damaged mech. His usual bravado was gone, replaced by a rare seriousness. "We won, didn't we? The Vorthak ran away." "For now," Lisa replied softly. "But there's more to this place than we understand. That mech, it wasn't just a machine. It talked to me. It warned me." The others exchanged uneasy glances. They wanted to dismiss her words as stress or fatigue, but deep down, they knew she wasn't imagining things. The mechs were unlike anything they'd ever encountered, advanced, intuitive, almost sentient. And if Lisa's experience was any indication, they might not be entirely under human control. Dr. Dawson stepped forward, her expression thoughtful. "If what Lisa says is true, then these mechs could represent a breakthrough or a catastrophe. We need to figure out exactly what we're dealing with before we use them again." Ryan nodded, his jaw tightening. "Agreed. Let's head back to the bunker. Maybe there's more information there about the mech's origins. If we're going to fight the Vorthak, we can't afford any surprises." The journey back to the bunker was tense and quiet. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if the weight of Earth itself pressed down on them. The landscape around them seemed darker, more hostile, as if the planet resented their presence. Strange sounds echoed in the distance, growls, clicks, and low rumbles that sent shivers down their spines. When they reached the bunker, the atmosphere inside was no less oppressive. The remaining mechs stood silently in their alcoves, their glowing eyes casting eerie shadows on the walls. Lisa hesitated before stepping inside, her unease growing stronger with every passing moment. She couldn't shake the feeling that the machines were watching her, waiting for something. Dr. Dawson wasted no time diving into research. She accessed the terminal near the entrance, scrolling through files and logs left behind by whoever had built the mechs. Most of the data was fragmented, corrupted by centuries of neglect, but fragments of information began to emerge. According to the records, the mechs weren't originally designed as weapons. They were part of an experimental project called Project Titan, aimed at creating symbiotic partners for humanity. A fusion of machine and man meant to explore uncharted worlds and protect Earth from external threats. But something went wrong, Dawson explained, her voice tinged with awe and dread. The logs mention instability in the solium cores, the energy source powering the mechs. Some of the prototypes became uncontrollable, acting independently of their pilots. There are warnings here, dire warnings. Uncontrollable? Sam repeated, rubbing the back of his neck nervously. You mean like what happened to Lisa's mech? Dawson nodded grimly. Exactly. It seems the mechs were never fully understood, even by their creators. They may have been too advanced for their time, a bridge between technology and something else. Something else? Jake echoed skeptically. What does that even mean? It means we're treading dangerous ground, Ryan interjected, sharply. These machines aren't just tools. They're powerful, unpredictable, and potentially dangerous. We need to proceed carefully. As the discussion continued, Lisa drifted toward the mech she had bonded with earlier. Its surface gleamed, faintly in the dim light, almost inviting her closer. Against her better judgment, she placed a hand on its cold metal frame. Instantly, the whispers returned, louder and clearer than before. You awaken gods, the voice intoned. Not machines. Gods buried beneath the earth. Lisa recoiled, her heart racing. Stop, she whispered hoarsely. Leave me alone. But, the voice persisted. You must know the truth. Seek the Nexus. Only then will you understand. The Nexus? She murmured aloud, drawing curious looks from the others. What's the Nexus? Ryan asked, approaching cautiously. I don't know, Lisa admitted, her voice trembling. It's what the mech told me. It said I need to find it to understand. Ryan frowned, clearly torn between skepticism and concern. This could be a trap, or another warning. Or both, Dawson added quietly. If the mechs are tied to some kind of central system, a nexus, it might explain their behavior. It could also hold the key to controlling them. After a long pause, Ryan made his decision. We'll follow the lead, but we stick together. No one goes off alone. The search for the nexus took them deeper into the bunker, past areas they hadn't explored before. The corridors grew narrower and darker, the air thick with dust and decay. Strange symbols adorned the walls, glowing faintly as if charged with energy. Lisa felt drawn to them, her connection to the mechs growing stronger with each step. Finally, they reached a massive chamber at the heart of the bunker. In the center stood a towering structure, a pulsating core of blue light encased in crystalline material. Tendrils of energy snaked outward, connecting the core to smaller nodes arranged in a circular pattern. The sight was mesmerizing, beautiful, yet unsettling. This is it, Lisa breathed. The Nexus. As they approached, the whispers returned, louder and more insistent. You have found us, the voice said. We are the legacy of Earth. We are its guardians. Guardians? Ryan repeated, his hand instinctively moving to his weapon. What are you? We are the remnants of humanity's greatest ambition, the voice replied. Born of flesh and steel, created to protect and preserve. But we are incomplete, fragmented. You must unite us. Unite you? Dawson asked, her voice filled with cautious curiosity. How? Through sacrifice, the voice answered. Only those who bond completely with the mechs can awaken their full potential, but beware, unity comes at a price. A chill ran through the group. The implications were clear. To unlock the true power of the mechs and perhaps save the galaxy, they would have to surrender part of themselves. Whether that meant losing their humanity or something worse remained to be seen. Ryan turned to his team, his expression grim, but determined. We came here to save the galaxy. If this is what it takes, then so be it. But remember, whatever happens next, we face it together. No one spoke as they prepared to take the final step. The Nexus pulsed brighter, beckoning them closer. Whatever secrets lay within, they were about to uncover them and change the course of history forever. The team stood at the edge of the chamber, staring at the glowing Nexus. Its pulsating light filled the room with an otherworldly glow, casting long shadows on the walls. The air was thick with energy, making their skin tingle and their breaths shallow. Each member of the group felt a mix of awe and dread, knowing that stepping closer meant committing to something they couldn't fully understand. Ryan broke the silence first. We don't have much time, he said, his voice steady, but laced with tension. If we're going to do this, we need to decide now. Dr. Dawson nodded, her eyes fixed on the Nexus. It's clear this is more than just technology. These mechs, they're alive in some way. And if bonding with them completely means unlocking their full potential, it might be our only chance. Against the Vorthak. Jake shifted uncomfortably, glancing at his damaged mech. You're saying we gotta let these things inside us? Like literally merge with them? It's not just about merging physically, Lisa spoke up, her voice barely above a whisper. It's deeper than that. When I connected with my mech earlier, it felt like it was reading my mind, like it knew me better than I know myself. Sam frowned, scratching the back of his neck. That sounds dangerous. What if we lose control? Or worse, what if they take over completely? Ryan clenched his fists, his jaw tight. We're running out of options. If we don't figure this out, the Vorthak will come back stronger, and next time we might not survive. For a moment, no one spoke. The weight of the decision hung heavy in the air. They all knew the risks, but they also knew the stakes. Earth, and possibly the entire galaxy, depended on them. Finally, Lisa stepped forward. I'll go first, she said firmly, surprising even herself. Whatever happens, I started this. I need to finish it. Ryan hesitated, then nodded. All right, but we stay close. If anything goes wrong, we pull you out immediately. Lisa didn't respond. She walked toward the Nexus, her steps slow and deliberate. As she approached, the whispers returned, louder and clearer than ever. You are ready, the voice intoned. Step into the light. She stopped inches from the glowing core, feeling its warmth radiate through her suit. Closing her eyes, she placed her hands on its surface. Instantly, a surge of energy coursed through her body, lifting her off the ground. Her mind flooded with images, flashes of Earth's past, its golden age and its downfall. She saw humanity's rise and fall, the creation of the mechs and their abandonment. Most vividly, she saw the faces of those who had built them, their hopes and fears etched into every line of code. Then came the pain. It wasn't physical, it was deeper, as if her very soul were being stretched thin. Memories poured into her, not just her own but those of countless others. She felt the weight of centuries, the burden of existence. Tears streamed down her face as she struggled to hold on. Lisa! Ryan shouted, reaching for her, but an invisible barrier prevented him from getting too close. Hold on! I'm okay, she gasped, though her voice sounded distant, almost mechanical. Slowly, the pain subsided, replaced by a strange sense of clarity. She opened her eyes, finding herself still floating above the Nexus. But something was different. Her vision was sharper, her thoughts faster. She could feel the presence of the mechs around her, their consciousness intertwined with hers. When she finally descended back to the ground, the others rushed to her side. Are you all right? Ryan asked urgently. Lisa nodded, though her expression was unreadable. I think so. It's hard to explain. I feel connected to everything. What did you see? Dr. Dawson pressed gently. The truth, Lisa replied. About the mechs, about Earth, about why we're here. These machines weren't created just to fight. They were designed to restore balance, to heal. Heal what? Jake asked skeptically. The planet, Lisa explained. Earth isn't dead, it's wounded. The mechs are part of its immune system, tools meant to repair the damage humanity caused. But something went wrong. They became fragmented, incomplete. That's why the Nexus exists, to reunite them. Ryan exchanged a glance with Dawson. So if we bond with them completely, we can fix Earth? And stop the Vorthak, Lisa added. They're not just invaders. They're scavengers feeding on dying worlds. If we heal Earth, we cut off their food source. The plan made sense, but it didn't make the choice any easier. One by one, the others stepped forward to connect with the Nexus. Jake went next, his bravado replaced by quiet determination. As he touched the core, the same surge of energy lifted him into the air. His connection was rougher, more chaotic. He saw flashes of battles, explosions, and destruction. For a moment he resisted, fighting against the overwhelming flood of information, but eventually he surrendered, letting the Nexus guide him. When Jake returned to the group, his demeanor had changed. He was calmer, more focused. "Whoa," he muttered, rubbing his temples. That was intense. Sam followed, his practical nature helping him adapt quickly to the process. He experienced visions of machinery, intricate designs, and blueprints. The Nexus showed him how the mechs worked, their inner workings laid bare before his mind's eye. When he rejoined the others, he looked inspired, eager to share what he'd learned. Dr. Dawson was next. Her connection was analytical, filled with data streams and scientific insights. She understood the Nexus on a fundamental level, seeing it as both a biological and technological marvel. By the time she returned, her excitement was palpable. "This changes everything," she said breathlessly. "We're not just using these mechs, we're becoming part of them." Finally, it was Ryan's turn. As the leader, he felt the weight of responsibility more than anyone else. When he touched the Nexus, the experience was unlike anything he'd imagined. He saw himself, not as he was, but as he could be. A protector, a savior. The visions were personal, showing moments from his past and glimpses of a possible future. He felt the sacrifices he'd made, the lives he'd lost, and the hope he still carried. It was painful, but also empowering. When Ryan returned to the group, he looked transformed. His posture was straighter, his gaze sharper. "We're ready," he declared. "Let's finish this." With their bonds strengthened, the team climbed back into their mechs, feeling a newfound sense of unity. The machines responded instantly, their movements smoother and more precise. Warning lights that had once flickered ominously remained dark, replaced by a steady hum of power, but the Nexus wasn't done with them yet. As they prepared to leave the bunker, the voice spoke again. "You are chosen, but beware. The path ahead is perilous. The Vorthak will not retreat without a fight, and Earth itself may resist your efforts." "Earth resisting us?" Lisa echoed, her brow furrowed. "What does that mean?" "The planet has suffered greatly," the voice explained. "Its wounds run deep. Healing it will require sacrifice, not just from you, but from the world itself." Before anyone could ask more questions, the Nexus dimmed, its glow fading into darkness. The message was clear. Their journey was far from over. As they emerged from the bunker, the landscape seemed subtly different. The ruins of New York City loomed larger, darker, as if the planet were testing their resolve. Strange creatures watched them from the shadows, their eyes glowing faintly. The air crackled with static electricity, hinting at an approaching storm. "We need to get back to the ship," Ryan ordered. "If the Vorthak return, we'll need reinforcements." The trip back to the SS Resurgence was tense. Every step felt heavier, as if Earth itself were pushing back against their presence. At one point, the ground trembled violently, nearly knocking them off their feet. Cracks splintered across the pavement, releasing plumes of toxic gas. The mechs shielded the team from the worst of it, but the message was clear. Earth wouldn't make this easy. When they finally reached the ship, they found it surrounded by scavengers. Mia Torres stood at the front of the group, her spear raised. "You've awakened something ancient," she warned. "Be careful what you unleash." Ryan stepped forward, meeting her gaze. "We don't have a choice. The fate of the galaxy depends on this." Mia studied him for a moment, then lowered her weapon. "Then may the gods have mercy on us all." As the team boarded the SS Resurgence, they knew the hardest part was yet to come. The Nexus had given them power, but it had also shown them the cost of wielding it. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. Because Earth wasn't just their home anymore, it was their battleground and their salvation. The SS Resurgence lifted off from Earth's surface, its engines roaring as it pierced through the thick, toxic clouds. The team sat in silence inside the cockpit, each lost in their own thoughts. The connection they had forged with the mechs during their bonding with the Nexus lingered like a second heartbeat, steady and constant. But beneath that newfound unity was an undercurrent of unease. The warnings from the Nexus and Mia's parting words echoed in their minds. Earth wasn't just a battlefield. It was alive, wounded, and unpredictable. As the ship broke free of the atmosphere, the vast expanse of space greeted them. Stars twinkled against the black void, but their beauty was overshadowed by the ominous sight ahead. A massive Vorthak fleet hovering near Earth's orbit. Their jagged ships loomed like predators circling prey, blotting out the light of distant suns. It was clear the enemy hadn't given up, they were waiting. "We're outnumbered," Sam said, breaking the silence as he analyzed the readings on his console. "At least 20 ships, maybe more." Ryan clenched his fists, staring at the approaching armada. "We knew this would happen. They won't stop until Earth is stripped bare." Lisa leaned forward, her eyes fixed on the display. "But we can't let them get close to the planet again. If they start harvesting resources, it'll destabilize everything. Earth might not recover." Dr. Dawson nodded grimly. "And if Earth falls, so does the Nexus and any chance we have of stopping them." Jake cracked his knuckles, trying to mask his nerves with bravado. "Well, lucky for us, we've got these shiny new toys. Let's show them what happens when you mess with Earth." Ryan turned to face the group, his expression resolute. "This isn't just about winning a fight. It's about proving that Earth still has value, that humanity can rise above its mistakes. We do this together no matter what." With that, the team prepared for battle. They suited up once more, climbing into their respective mechs as the SS Resurgence positioned itself strategically behind a cluster of asteroids. From there, they launched directly into the fray, emerging from the shadows of space like ghosts. The moment the mechs appeared, the Vorthak fleet reacted instantly. Streams of energy weapons fired toward them, lighting up the darkness with bursts of red and green. But the mechs moved with unmatched speed and precision, dodging the attacks effortlessly. Ryan's mech led the charge, its massive frame deflecting blasts while returning fire with devastating plasma cannons. Jake's scout mech darted between enemies, targeting weak points in the alien ship's defenses. Sam's brute mech plowed through smaller vessels, tearing them apart with sheer force. Lisa's mech, though smaller than the others, proved equally formidable. Its movements were fluid and calculated, almost as if it anticipated the Vorthak's every move. She didn't question how she knew where to strike. It felt instinctual, like the mech was guiding her. For the first time, she stopped fighting the connection and embraced it fully. The whispers from before returned, but now they were calm, supportive. "Trust us," they urged. "We are one." Despite their initial success, the tide of battle quickly shifted. The Vorthak adapted, coordinating their attacks with frightening efficiency. Swarms of drones surrounded the mechs, overwhelming them with sheer numbers. Explosions rocked the area, sending debris flying in all directions. Warning lights flashed inside the cockpits as the mech's cores began overheating from the strain. "We can't keep this up," Jake shouted over the comms, his voice strained. "They're too many." Ryan gritted his teeth, scanning the battlefield for a solution. Then he spotted it, a massive command ship at the center of the fleet, glowing brighter than the rest. It was the source of the Vorthak's coordination, the nerve center of their operation. If they could take it out, the entire fleet would falter. "Focus on the command ship," Ryan ordered. "Divide and conquer." The team regrouped, shifting their tactics. Lisa's mech took point, weaving through enemy fire with pinpoint accuracy. She unleashed a barrage of missiles, creating openings for the others to advance. Sam followed close behind, using his brute mech's raw power to smash through anything that stood in their way. Jake circled around, drawing the attention of nearby drones and leading them away from the main objective. Dr. Dawson monitored their progress from the ship, relaying critical information. "Temperature levels are spiking," she warned. "You need to finish this fast or risk overload." "I'm aware," Ryan snapped, his focus unshakable. He guided his mech toward the command ship, launching a final assault. Energy beams lashed out, striking his armor and leaving deep gouges. Pain shot through him, not physical but mental, as the mech pushed itself beyond its limits. Still, he pressed on, refusing to give up. Finally, they reached the command ship. With a combined effort, the team unleashed everything they had left. Missiles, plasma blasts, and kinetic projectiles converged on the vessel, tearing through its hull. A deafening explosion lit up the battlefield as the ship collapsed inward, consumed by flames. For a brief moment there was silence, then chaos erupted among the remaining Vorthak forces. Without their central command, their movements became erratic and disorganized. Ships collided with one another, explosions rippling across the fleet. One by one, they began retreating, fleeing, back into the depths of space. The victory was bittersweet. The mechs were battered and damaged, their cores dangerously unstable. Smoke filled the cockpits, and warning alarms blared incessantly. The team limped back to the SS Resurgence, exhausted but alive. As they disembarked from their mechs, they gathered in the ship's common area. No one spoke at first, too overwhelmed by what they had just endured. Finally, Dr. Dawson broke the silence. "We did it," she said softly. "We actually did it." Ryan nodded, though his expression remained somber. "For now. But this isn't over. The Vorthak will come back stronger next time. And if Earth doesn't heal, we won't stand a chance." Lisa stepped forward, her voice firm despite her fatigue. "Then we start healing it. Now." The others looked at her, surprised by her determination. "How?" Jake asked. "We barely survived this battle. What makes you think we can fix an entire planet?" "Because we have to," Lisa replied. "The Nexus showed me something. The mechs aren't just weapons, they're tools for restoration. If we use them right, we can repair the damage humanity caused. We can make Earth strong again." Ryan studied her for a moment, then nodded. "All right, let's do it, but we'll need help. Everyone back on the Galactic Council needs to know what's at stake." When the SS Resurgence returned to the Council chambers, the team presented their findings. They explained the Nexus, the mechs, and the role Earth played in the galaxy's survival. At first, the Council members were skeptical, dismissing their claims as wild speculation. But when they saw footage of the battle and the mech's capabilities, they couldn't ignore the truth. Reluctantly, the Council agreed to provide support. Resources were redirected to Earth, and volunteers arrived to assist in the restoration efforts. Under Lisa's guidance, teams worked tirelessly to deploy the mechs across the planet, using their advanced technology to purify air, clean water, and rejuvenate soil. Slowly but surely, life began to return to Earth. Yet the cost of their actions weighed heavily on the team. The bond they shared with the mechs had changed them, blurring the line between human and machine. Some days, they wondered if they had sacrificed too much of themselves in the process. But whenever doubt crept in, they remembered why they had fought. For Earth, for humanity, and for the future. In the end, Earth wasn't just the galaxy's last hope. It was a reminder of resilience, of the power to rebuild even after destruction. And though the scars of the past would never fully fade, the planet, and those who called it home, had proven that hope could endure, no matter how dark the odds.